Well, good morning, gentle beings. I should probably turn on my camera. How are you doing this morning? It is yet another wonderful, wonderful day and another wonderful week full of work. Work to do. Hope all of you guys are body doubling with me here. If you wish to body double, please feel free. I'm trying to find good music for us for today. Chill hop. We'll do chill hop. Chill hop. It's not chill hopping. Now it's chill hopping. There we go. All right. Gentle beings, welcome to the show. Those of you who are joining me, like a Brent. How are you doing this morning, Brent? So we, over the weekend, and you can't really see it, but my buddy Kevin came over and we built this substructure right under here, which I'm so excited to have because we rebuilt this office. You have to get beat. It doesn't sound good. We rebuilt the office, and we've been working on the office from time to time during COVID. We put in these bookshelves, and then at some point we put in. What we did was we had these. Yeah. Price is law, man. Price is law. So we put in these shelves, or not shelves, but like all the way around the office workbench. And the workbench is it's all these doors. There were all these doors in our garage. Hopped over to YouTube. There were all these doors in our garage when we moved in, so they were taken off of closets and things like that in the house. And so I took all those doors and we just put braces under them and bolted them to the wall. So we have these doors that go all the way around as tables, which is great because the doorknobs have these holes where all of like the cables for my PC go down the doorknobs underneath, and then they can be underneath here and run underneath there and everything like that. So it was really cool. But originally my PC was right there, and my kid kept coming up behind me and startling me, and I hate being startled. And he didn't mean to. It wasn't intentional. He wasn't doing it on purpose. In fact, he looked pretty shocked every time he did, because it makes me genuinely uncomfortable. So I moved my PC to this end of the workbench, and I'm going to make all of that workbench over there drawing and work desk and places to build things and stuff like that. And we're going to work on that in a minute here in this next couple of weeks, because because somewhere over there is also my sales tax license. I kind of need that for Wicked West. So one of the things we got to do is clean up that area anyway, so I can find my sales tax license so that I can put that into my cash box so that it goes with me to Wicked West. But I moved to the end of this workbench, which is right here, so that I liked having my bookshelf behind me. I think it looks nice. You see a lot of books, some of these like this, my Calvin and Hobbes collection here, and obviously all of my how to draw books are here. Art books are down here. These are all comics up here. It all makes logical sense. But at the edge here, all I have is this triangle about this big of space to run my mouse, and no place for my keyboard at all, right? Because here's my drawing monitor, here's monitor 1, and here's monitor 2, and I stacked them on top of each other with this piece of wood with an L brace that my PC is holding down over there so that it doesn't topple this way. A huge piece of wood that it's sitting on over there. So anyway, I built this, and then I couldn't operate. So over here was my keyboard, but it was sitting on this rack of shelves, And so I'd have to pick it up and put it here to type, and that was getting kind of unpleasant. So we built this little structure over the weekend, which has a spot over here with a hole cut in it so that I can put my drink down in the hole, so that somebody, and I won't name any names, but we all know him and love him, and you see him every day at the show, can't knock over my drink, which is one of the things he likes to do. And right over here is where my mouse is. So I've got my mouse right here, and then my keyboard is here. Usually I put up what I'm writing right here, and then I type on my keyboard, and I can look outside, and we've got a park right across the street here, and it's a lovely, wonderful view, and the mountains you can kind of see back there, and I love this. This is a great view right here. And so I've got it set up so that now I can type here, and I can watch the view and type and see what I'm typing right here. And then whenever I'm working, and whenever I'm working, I can then have my keyboard to my left hand, my mouse to the right hand, and then my pen right here, which means that both of my steering devices are to my right, and then I've got my hotkey capability to my left. So it works really well. When George gets thirsty, a cup has to die. But he also knocks over my drink. So now we have a cup holder effectively built into my PC station here. But I'm all excited. This is day one of this new PC station. It actually works really nicely. I've got like the ability to have my hotkeys to my left. I've got my other stuff over here. My pen is now like in a spot. I actually might put, this sticks up just a little bit here. I might double stick that down there and then just put my pen there. Oh, look at that. Then it's not in the way of anybody. I like that. So, have my stylus right there. Everything. This is exciting. I'm all excited. I love having workspaces that are good. I was watching a video about how to properly artist. Not necessarily in that way, but one of the things that they had said was make sure your workspace is a comfortable workspace for you. And it has to be somewhat inspiring. And yeah, my workspace is weird, but I'm kind of weird myself. So, there's that. So here's my workspace, and it's got a nice flow to it and everything like that. I like it. So that's good. So today is the first day of our break that Ken and I are somewhat imposing upon ourselves. So no pressure for this week, except that I do have pressure for this week, but not until a little later on. I have to work back on my animations a little bit with the driving school, but not today. Not today. We don't have to do that today. Yep, comic is at the printers right now after being fixed. And hopefully all goes well. I sent it to Bob, and we'll see. And just so you guys are aware, I have started the layout for book 2. You can see here's book 2. All that's in book 2 at this moment is the inside cover piece and the back cover that says, hey, join us on whatever we're doing. But hey, the rest of it still needs to be filled. But that's what we're going to talk about today. I believe we are going to talk about the other 2 pieces of this. Because we had done a whole lot of laying out on that one, and I realized I was so beholden to one particular scene that I actually built the entire thing around it, and I really shouldn't have. Because now I'm looking at the layout, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like it flows at all, and I don't like it. I don't like the way it flows. And one of the things I thought of that would be kind of cool is if we started in a different spot. All right. So let's just think it out, right? My first thought was there's not enough character involvement. Second, I was imposing a bunch of action when I didn't really feel like I needed action necessarily. There will be action, but it doesn't. I think I'm doing spaceship versus spaceship combat so that I can make spaceships, which, though cool, and we all love spaceships, don't think we don't. Um, I think really what needs to happen is that the the point of complication in the story should be the arrival of our destroyer, right? Instead of making the destroyer arrive right off the bat, right? Spaceship, spaceship, spaceship. Don't tell me that me. I mean, we all know that Benny is definitely my hero. Benny is my hero. So one of the things I thought was, well, what would, and there's like a couple of plot holes that I felt like I didn't really address very well. One, the planet is in really lousy shape. Like, and the only ship that's there to help is the Kittiwake. To boot, I was having a hard time with one of the problems that I want to do is I really need to get Alex off of the Kittiwake so that she can decide to come back. That's sort of the pinning point of these two issues, right? And that is that Alex needs to walk away so that she can come back. And part of this means that, and then I had all these problems of, well, then the ship's in orbit and Alex is on the planet. Well, why are we going back to the planet? You know, yada yada yada. We've got a lot of things that are kind of not moving in the right direction. I didn't feel like the flow was going the right way. So what I was thinking was, what if we were to take this first sequence here, right here, and in this sequence, instead, have the Kittiwake transferring power to some place. Like, for example, have the Kittiwake sitting on a landing pad with cables coming off of it, so that the power systems of the ship are powering some small city, because the Kittiwake is a pretty powerful machine in and of itself. It's a spaceship. Spaceships are really powerful. It allows us a couple of things. One, it allows us to reiterate something that's very important, which is Moment is one of the only planets that we've found that's oxygen nitrogen, right? So I can use the throwaway line of I'm turning off life support, which is weird. Usually I wouldn't do that. However, I can, because we can just open the windows, so to speak, right? Something you normally wouldn't do on a planet that has, whatever, nitrous oxide as your whatever. So that's one. But two, it allows us to get a scene between Meirelle and Navin, and allows us to get Meirelle and Navin to the sickbay to talk to Alex, and skips a lot of the stuff that we already pretty much can just put together, right? So, talking about Meirelle and Navin, we're going to go up here into this section of this. We also will get Tum, who's the engineer, and we haven't met him yet. They can have some friendly banter, right? Then, whatever this scene is right here to right here, right? We got a peak coming up right here where we start talking about go to medical. So Meyrel and Navin to medical, right? And that's that scene, this scene right here. And then we'll move down here. And this is Meyrel, Navin, Chang, comma, that's the doctor, and Alex. Right? So we can talk about the translator. And Meyrel is a storyteller. And this is important because one of the things we're not establishing is what's so special about the Deistati, and why are they an interesting and different race. So in other words, where's my Spock, and how do I explain that our Spock is Vulcan, right? But this will allow us to have a little bit of a discussion with Alex that allows us to get to a point where we can express that she wants to leave. She wants to go back, find her home. She doesn't actually really want to go find her home because it's a different story, but it allows us to get to a different place in this. Right. What? You saying something? Did you want something? Did you need something? Yeah. Does it say you want to come over here and get scritches? You don't have to. I was about to say, yeah, you can come over here. Oh, what a cat. What a cat. There we go. Hi, George. What would they do without you? You are definitely part of the show. Scritch your chin. You do just chin scritches. Oh yeah, you like chin scritches, don't you? It's funny, he's not as big of a chin scritchy cat. He never really has been. But he is a tummy scritchy cat, which is funny. Like, not even the bear trap tummy scritchy. He likes tummy scritches. That was your dad's name. Hi, Ron. It's actually, Ron, that's something you and I have in common, because that was also my dad's name, although he went by Mike, but that was his name too. He was George Mike Davis. And so, but we named this one George because of the infamous Bugs Bunny cartoon where, I will hug him and squeeze him and call him George. And so that's where his name comes from, is the hug him and squeeze him part. Which was funny when I told my dad that we called our cat George, because my dad was never very fond of the name George. For him, it was actually my great grandfather's name, whom my dad loved. My dad absolutely adored Granddaddy, um, but he didn't feel like George fit him. And I think that was part of it, was that, he admired Granddaddy so much that he didn't feel like he deserved the name George. But it was still pretty funny when I told him that we named our cat George. He was like, "Why would you name your cat George?" So, and he's a good cat. He's a kind of a doofus, but he's a good doofus. He knocks over water anywhere. So, right? That makes sense. Yeah, they, Dad was gonna name me. Actually, I think Dad knew he was gonna name me Guy from the very beginning. My grandfather, my dad's father, was named Guy, and he was very influential in my dad's life, but died of cancer when my dad was 15. And so, um, later on, we found out that Guy William, that was, because of course I didn't know him because my dad was only 15, but Guy William had, stormed the beaches of Normandy, sort of thing. So that was really cool. And not really cool. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say there. It's respectable, a very respectable thing. Dad didn't know. Dad never knew, which makes some sense. A lot of the times when they did things in World War II, they saw things that they didn't want to talk about. And so it was a very different era, very different culture. So, yeah. So, anyway, yeah. All right. So, what I'm doing here is just kind of setting up my scenes on this. So, Ron, I had done already the scene setup for these. I think I don't know if you'll find it as interesting as I often do, the writing process that I have gravitated to. I used to do my comic scripts in like a prose format, like in Word, and then write them out like a comic script and then apply them. But I have recently found more that I enjoy more with this, where I've got a visual layout, and then I sort of whittle in the scenes. So, like, knowing where we are on the layout of the entire book, so that it comes together really well. And the X's indicate splash pages. So it's very regimented in manga to have a splash page every 16 pages, or if you're running a 23 page or 24 page comic, then every 12 pages. And it's because in Japan, they'll release one half of an issue every week, month, depending on how those Shonen Jump books are done. And the Shonen Jump books are these like telephone book sized things that are actually printed on really bad paper. But they're really thick, and they'll have like 12 or 13 different stories running at the same time. And these jump books then would have each one of these stories broken down, and you'd get part one and then part two next week or next month, and then you get part three and part four, and it just keep going until the story was complete. So following in that footstep, I like the way that that sort of puts a pause in the middle of the story, so like a little bit of a coda, and it just stops it for a second and then lets the story continue forward. So because of that, I sort of visually want to see, that I've got a stop point here and a stop point here. So I'll roll to the story to the stop point there. So, all right. But looking at this now, and I'm looking at my build-up because this is the next build-up. I want to, yeah, and it's a fascinating thing how it's evolved in my head. Like I'm older now, and it's interesting looking back on how I used to do these because I still got all my old scripts in here and everything like that. And it's interesting to me to look back at the way I used to do these stories, and and how much I was like, "Ugh, I made it so hard for myself. I didn't need to make it this difficult. Trying to get the kind of the structure that I wanted." So we were just, I mean, it was just because we were talking about this. We were talking about storytelling on Saturday and how storytelling works and the interesting ways that people tell a story. And I like the fact that one of the things that Kat's been talking about is how manga has cues that they use to tell a story. That includes even the way that the panels are laid out and stuff like that will tell how the story works. So, okay, so this is an important piece here, but I need to make the transition here to a new scene. Because I need to now have some kind of problem that's going to brew at this point in time to pull our crew away. Because at this point in time, we've got this like lull in the story on my arc, and then it has to build back up to right there. So we're going to build back up through this. Yeah. Oh, man. Somebody had said, and I can't remember who, it was one of the greats, either Stan Lee or Ditka or somebody had said no more than 25 words a bubble, and I remember that as a like hard and fast rule for me. And then I try not to put more than 3 bubbles in a panel, and then I try also not to build too many panels in a page, and that makes it easier for me. Only because that makes it sort of oh man, I've got to kill some words here, and I totally get that. The thing that makes me admire what the thing that makes me admire what you do, Ron, is that you have to convey what your thoughts are, but on the same token, you have to let the artist do the art and know that they're going to convey. And that I admire. Like, I don't have to write in here anything to say this scene is this or that scene is that, because I will be drawing it. And sometimes even when I'm doing these layouts, I'll just sketch in something real quick in a spot, because I know what I'm after. And you've got to relay all that information and still have conservation of words. And that I admire. That's not something I do very well. It's not a skill I have. I can take your scripts and translate them, but I'm not good at like writing the scripts and giving them to somebody else. I don't think I'd ever do that very well. So, all right. I'm coming out of this scene with Mayrel and all of my characters here. I don't want to overuse Mayrel. So I think I could probably switch to maybe Tom and Bennett in the engineering section. at this point in time. We really do. We really do. That'd be fun. That would be fun. I think I'm better now than the first time we tried it, because we tried that collaboration years ago, but I wasn't in a place. And Cayman's with them with Alex, so I feel like I don't want to transfer to Cayman at this point in time. But we are missing, like Tom and Bennett. So because I feel like if I can go to the engineering section, we can talk about the plot. Because like there's a real plot going on in this episode, so we probably should talk about the plot maybe somewhere. So, what if we put Tom and Bennett engineering? Oh, you know what we could do? Engineering's in the front of the ship. It's right behind the pilot house. We could also put Better Spec in here. And we could talk about gravity anomalies and the weirdness that Better Spec is seeing. That's probably what we should see. We should talk about. Better Spec is going to start seeing that there is something different going on about space in this area. He doesn't have enough gravity sensor power on the Corvette. The Corvette's too small, so she can't see very well what's going on out there, but something is going on out in space. And so this could be good because we could start with Tom and Bennett talking about the engines and, okay, we've diverted all of our power to, the city or whatever, and get some good time between those two characters, because Bennett and Tom are probably the most irascible characters that I've got. They're not very military. And so having the two of them together could make for a jovial kind of fun scene. So we can go with that for a little bit there. And then Better Spec coming in, Better Spec being that gunny sergeant, and he's already grumpy and cranky anyway. It's a good combination. It's a good foil for those two, because they'll be irascible and he'll be like, oh, I hate you people. Like, can't you guys be military just for once? It's all right. See you later, Ron. Thanks for joining me. So moving along, the idea here, we can bring Better Spec in. He talks about an ongoing problem that he's seeing with the gravity. There's something weird about the gravity in the system. And so he brings that up, and trying to think of how I want to do this, because I've got really all right. So we take a little bit of what's going on here and we move through this scene. We get to what's the climactic point, because I feel like here's where I want to put so here's the stop. Here's where I'm at the stopping point. He says something big is happening to the system, right? Something bigger than they expected. but I don't want to put it into the situation where if we say something big is arriving, then when we get to the end of this issue, something big will be arriving, right? The destroyer will be arriving. We'll go on ahead and let that be the climax of issue 2. That's the complication. Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking about all the way through. So I don't want. Well, I don't know. Could that be written as a red herring? Maybe it is. And I kind of like thinking, so taking out the entire scene with um, Alex and driving around on her skateboard is going to allow me to pass that story through, past that red herring, right? As an audience member, you're not going to know that there's something different going on with her for a while. And I get to pass that through until we do something different with it in a moment with it, maybe in episode 3 or issue 3. Which, by the way, we're going to do issue 2 and 3 pretty much at the same time, so that all the scenes will be ready to go all at the same time. It's actually how I did the champion, when I did the champion, which was a Tamerlane episode. I did that, so that way. Anyway, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we're gonna come through to here. Better Spec says something to the effect of, "No, this is bigger than anything I've ever seen. This is different. There's something different going on, and I can't tell what, but it's something big, right? So maybe something bigger." Communism was just a red herring, right? So something bigger. That's where we leave that. That's what Better Spec is saying. Something bigger is happening. This then should be a different scene. So like looking at this scene here, I feel like we should move down a little bit, like in time. And I really think that this should be, a mess hall scene, a shower scene, one of those scenes where they're just in between. And, one of the characters is talking to the other characters and saying, probably to Chang. It probably should be to Chang. So it's Chang and somebody, and the character is like, "Hey, have you, you know, what was the resolution with Alex?" And she's, well, she's going to leave. Okay, are you sure you want to let her leave? And you know, yeah, a life scene, something in between. Something where they have a moment or two where two characters can talk and discuss it and think, because we need to have the moment of, we need to have a moment of, what are we doing here, what's going on, what's the plot. So somebody needs to talk to somebody here. I don't think I want to start with the hot tubs yet. That's a little bit hard to explain, and I think we should use Alex as a pivot on that. So we won't use the hot tubs. So yeah, kind of thinking about what do we have as far as a life scene goes. Security watching over Alex. Maybe. You're going somewhere else, and I like this. I don't know if I like it. I like that you're going somewhere else. So let's keep working this one. So the security is watching over Alex. We only have 8 Marines total. So it's not there's not that many grunts really. Or one could argue that we have 1 CO and 7 grunts. But either way. Yeah, because I like what you're saying. We should have something going on with the Marines so that we really haven't established our Marines, have we? We did. We established our Marines. Start to a joke. That's it. It needs to be Arbo and Chang. Because we haven't met Arbo really except in the one scene where he was. No, it can be Arbo and Mayrel. Because you can start with, hey, that was some fancy flying for a Navy guy. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of inter-service sparkiness. That'd be good, because we can sort of start that with, by the way, you got some pretty fancy flying for a Navy brat, and she can say something like, I thought you would have made some comment about me being Deastati, and he'd be like, no, I don't care. You know what I mean? Sort of reinforcing one of the other things that we'd said before, which is the spacers don't care, just the dusters. The dusters care, but the spacers don't. That's not bad. I like where we're going here. I don't know where these two are, but I like where we're going. So Arbo is the lieutenant in charge of the Marines. The Marine lieutenant. He's not a butter barb, but yeah, let's do that. Let's do coming in here, Lieutenant Arbo and Mayrel. Yeah, it had to be Mayrel though. She was the one that was flying the 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 MPV. Yeah, I don't know if it'd be in his office though. Um, I'm having a hard time just because I really, really, really see these guys in the shower, and I don't know if I want to go to the shower just yet in issue two. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty soon to start doing that. And guess what? There's nudity. It's a little early for that, so I'm having a hard time with this one here. I'm like, do I want to go here or not? Could be mess. Could be mess. Yeah, it's a little early for shower scenes, so mess hall is probably better. Yeah, well, that's the whole point is that they are so comfortable at this point. Well, yeah, but they still have to clean up. But maybe they're on the ground, so the loading ramp is down. So they're on the ground. The kitty wake's on the ground with the loading ramp down. They don't need to take the princess. They don't need to take the MPV. No, I think the mess hall's probably fine. No matter what, though, they still need downtime. They're humans. It's been like 4 minutes. No, this is later. This is later. That's sort of what I'm trying to start with this first scene up front. This first scene here is they're on the ground. They've hooked up the kitty wake to a bunch of power lines and stuff like that. And she's on the ground and the loading dock's down. There's people on the ground. There's vehicles all over the place. And, people are all over trying to do stuff. And we start with Mayrel and Navin up in the pilot house saying, okay, we're transferring power now, shutting down the cockpit. And now we're no longer an airplane. We're now a power source. And then that's when Tum says, we're a reactor, and he goes through and makes some kind of joke about, but technically we're a reactor, and, and something like that. And so cute little banter between the three of them. They're trying to help. That was that was a plot hole that I was trying to fix, was exactly what you're talking about. It's a disaster on this planet. So what are they doing to help the disaster effort? You know? And so I think then, yeah, that's what I was thinking, is then moving back to this, then Mayrel and Navin are called to medical where they talk to Alex and all of this stuff. And then at the end, Alex is like, do I have to stay here? And no, of course not. You can leave at any time. Well, then I want to leave. And so they say, okay. And that's the end of that. Then we go to engineering where Tom and Bennett are talking about, how is the reactor going? The reactor is fine. No meltdown capabilities here. I don't know. I'm just making up stuff yet. And then Better Spec shows up and says, so have you looked at some of these numbers? Because they're weird. We've got, 7.6 beeple bops and 2.9 doodle loops. And, all these things are going on. He says something's happening. And then, well, yeah, I mean, like the entire planet just moved. Yeah, well, no, I mean, more than that, and, something like that, sort of thing. Something bigger is happening, sort of thing. So then that heads there. Now we go to Lieutenant Arbo and Mayrel in the mess, right? And Arbo says, hey, good flying for a Marine, or for a Navy dude, for a squid, for a squid. And she's like, thanks. And, and I thought you would have been against me because I'm a Deistati, and he goes, I don't care. Spacers don't care. And so that's good there. And then that leads to, what are we doing with the yeah, see, you can try, but it's not going to work. What are we doing with the kid? And it's, I don't know if that's stable, George. I don't know if that's stable. I'm just saying. But now we have proven that it holds 1 metric George. And then what are we going to do with the kid? She's going to leave. You think that's safe? This is good because that'll also allow me to say she's over the age. Right? As long as you do my people well, it doesn't really matter. Deistati. Yeah, what are we doing with her? And then it's spacer, and then something to the effect of, you are our family now. Even if you are Navy. Right. I like that. I like the. It's that it instantly sets up that dynamic of, I can beat you up because I'm your brother, but no one else can beat you up. You know what I mean? Like that dynamic right there. That sort of, I get to pick on you because you're Navy and not a Marine, but no one else gets to pick on you, sort of thing. We'll find out all about the Deistati as time goes on. So let's talk about the kid. The problem is that this shows the lowest point right there. And I really want to try to respect this pattern. And this isn't a very low point. So what we need to start with is not that. We need to leave on that. This is something we need to leave this scene. That's what we need. What's it look like out there? There's X thousand dead so far and X thousand wounded, missing. It's nothing I've seen before. It's it's something I haven't seen since the war. All right, move the kid. There we go. I haven't seen a mess like this since the war. Because our Marine is a war veteran of a war that took place that has resolved prior to this, just like in Star Trek. When I did Tamerlane, Arbo had been part of the Klingon War. And so Arbo is still Arbo, and so he's still a war vet. He participated in wars prior to our story. We just moved the war over. So and instead of fighting any of the humans, he's been fighting the Wyrn, which is a race that we haven't talked a whole lot about. But that front has moved out of this zone. So they're no longer in this zone for right now. For now. But they'll be back. Or maybe he moved back from a front. The front somewhere else in the galaxy. It doesn't have to be here. In fact, that's probably a better one. We'll put the front somewhere else in the galaxy, and the front's nowhere near here. And he's moved back because of PTSD, or something like that. Poor kid. And then we've got something to the effect of she's got to find what's left of her story. So she can move on. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of a reprieve. puts us in the lowest point of this comic, which is talking about the dead and the wounded on Moment. It also allows me to talk a little bit about, it wasn't just Moment. There's a couple of moons that are in bad shape. There's, stuff like that. And I heard the skipper has called in, reinforcements from the, 470th garrison or whatever, so that there's some talk about what's going on, because skippers brought stuff in. They're going to call in some ships, stuff like that. But I also like the idea that with those coming in, it's a little bit more stressful. When we get to this end point here. Because, signal, sir. That's just the ships from the garrison. No, sir. They're too far out. Those ships are still days away. There we go. And then that way, I kind of like that because it mimics sort of the Pearl Harbor World War II feel on that too. Okay, Brent, check in on this one here. We are coming out of this. Is it? If I had Alex walk down the ramp, walk out into the rubble, sit down, and start crying, would that be weird? Would that be too early? Would you read that as like just epically crushed by what's going on? Could you read that as she's walking through the city and epically, yeah, I'm liking this more and more because she's not, that's not really why she's crying. She's really upset because all of this happened because of her. But that won't read that way. Yeah, I'm liking this a little bit better. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was thinking. She walks into the rubble and walks down a destroyed street. She walks down, and she's looking at all the buildings around her, and she sees all of the X's on the buildings that indicate nobody's alive in here, and you know what I mean, like things like that, which then she can kind of fall apart when she's far away from them. Yeah, I like that. So we'll have then this scene right here be Navin and Alex. Goodbye. Yeah. And then Alex walks through destroyed city. X's on buildings. This is a lot for a teenage kid. I mean, this is a lot. And she's loaded up with more than just this. There's more going on here. Oof. Right. So there's more things we are worried about here. More stuff is going on. That would work. I think I like that better. I like that better. It's starting to show a human toll. I mean, one of the things that was bothering me about the original version of issue 2 that I had made was we were all business, but like Can had just said, a disaster has occurred. Moreover, for Alex, this disaster is personal. Mhm. I like this better. It also allows me to introduce the cat in a different way. My brain really wants to go to the cap at this point in time, which is the air patrol. If nothing else, to show that Moment has something going on for them. And it's not just the Kittiwake. I mean, this was still a world of a lot of people. So I kind of feel like coming out of this spot, we need to like come into something else showing that people are actually moving forward and things are good. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Add cat. Okay, so we don't need that much more plot for issue 2. We don't need a lot more on issue 2. This is all about recovering and stuff like that. It must walk through a wall. Can we just make a joke then about how it's the cat that walks through walls? So I'm going to switch to the cap. Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I'm just chuckling because that's a famous book, The Cat That Walked Through Walls. It's a famous story. So it's kind of like saying, "Do our androids dream of electric sheep?" You know what I mean? It's like it's a funny joke. That's all. That's what I was thinking too. Or like here. Oh, you mean have the splash? Have it back here? Um, Maybe. But the thing I really want to show is people getting rescued. You know. Also illustrating that there's more than one robot mechanical thingy. There's so one of the big influences that I have, of course, is Macross, and there was a there's a scene after the Macross has folded to Pluto and is on its way back from Pluto, where they're inside the SDF-1 and they've hollowed out an area and they're building all the buildings in there to make Macross City. And it just shows, the mecha putting things together and huge, construction vehicles and things like that. And I just love the idea that there are some construction vehicles that are, you know, quad-legged, grabbing things and picking up buildings and moving stuff around. Um, so I want to sort of show that we're trying to get stuff back online here, you know. I also really want to establish that this is a mecha based story. You know, like big construction mechs and things like that down here. All right. We've come a long way here on this idea and the story. Let's save as. And we're going to put it where? Where are we going to put it? Does anybody know? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's all good. Hey, Village Idiot. I like the name. How you doing? Welcome to the stream, for better or for worse. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is a accountability stream. So what we do is we're all artists that are on here, and we all try to. It's based off of the concept that body doubling, which is something that ADDers do. If you've got ADD or ADHD, one of the things that you like to do is sit with other people and do work together. Even though you're working on two different projects, you stay in the same place, and it keeps you on task and keeps you from wandering off task and becoming like way off into the distance. So the whole concept behind this is it's an accountability stream. So if you wish to body double with us and sit here and join me, and we will work together, and you can chat and stuff, right? Always a good thing. Mental health is always a good thing. So I am right now working on issue 2 of my comic episode called Momentary Ghosts. And it's it's a science fiction comic, and I've actually got all laid out here. Science fiction comic, and let's see. We've got issue 1. Issue 1's already out. That's right over here. So issue 1 has already been printed, and that's it right here. And so we're working on issue 2. So that's what we're after at the moment. Plotting out issue 2. I already know where the story was going to go. It's a 3-issue episode, so there's 3 issues to it. Issue 3 is pretty solid. I'm okay with issue 3. It's issue 2 that was not, I wasn't happy with it. But we had to send something off to the printer, which is what we call an omake. It's a secondary story, so they're side stories, and they went off to the printer this morning, well, last night. So they're at the printer today, getting printed, and that's what we're after here. So I'm going to go on ahead and get issue 2 and 3 ready to go so that the whole episode fits really nicely. And then we will get moving, and then that'll put this entire issue out, or this entire episode out. So that's what we're after. There are 3 comics already for this that are printed. Well, there are 2 printed. There will be a third when the third one comes back from the printer in a few days. So that's kind of cool. We'll be getting there. So that's where we are. So tell us about you a little bit. Are you an artist? Do you do art? Do you game? Both of which are really awesome. Do you not game? That's also awesome. What's your story? Meryl's a storyteller. And I did not, in fact, check today's setup. Oh, I won't be streaming on Thursday, as a side note, for the morning stream. Because I've got to go see a doctor. Who's important to know? But it doesn't look like anything else is really going on here. Except that yesterday was Sensei's birthday. I forgot to mention Sensei's birthday. Yesterday was so chaotic. That's fair. So, must be local to Chicago. I'm not local to Chicago. All right. It's the only thing. I actually am going to rearrange these back to where they were. Because I actually like it better the way it was. Because then that puts. I don't know what I'm doing here. I like the poor kid putting it. No, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Don't do that. Like the poor kid being sort of the end of the scene. It makes for a good transition, right? So, you made it! Hey, cat. I'll do this. Move these guys over to here. This is important. Okay. So now the way that this scene plays out is Arbo and Mirel are here in the mess. Arbo comes in and says, "Hey, nice flying." And, he goes, "Well, for a Navy person." And then she's like, "I thought that you'd be making some snarky comment about me being Deastati." And he says, "You're family now, even if you are Navy." Whatever, like that kind of thing. And then she appreciates that. And she says, "Well, what's it look like out there?" And he says, "Well, there's, X thousand dead so far with X thousand wounded and X thousand missing." And he says, "I haven't seen anything like this since the war." Makes some sense. And then she says, "Yeah, there's that kid, the survivor." And he says, "Yeah, poor kid. What's she going to do?" And that's when Mayrel says, "Well, she's got to find what's left of her story so she can move on." Oh, hey, 3D animation's pretty cool, though. That's sort of where I was when I left college. I started in 2D animation, and then it evolved out to 3D animation. And I was like, okay, that's fair. Weird, but fair. So, right, moving out of this scene then. She can move on. Then Nav and Alex say goodbye to each other on the loading dock. This is where Navin gives Alex the replicator so that she can have food and stuff like that. And maybe one more You're very strange that you don't know these things, sort of commentary. And then I saw one once when I was younger. But, and then we go through the scene. Alex is walking through all the buildings. There's no survivors. Things are really lousy. It's horrible. It's crushing. And then she starts to cry. And then that cuts that scene. Then we move to the cap. And the cap's moving around. You can see people being rescued. Yep, I agree. Cat's not wrong. I think that 3D animators should know 2D animation techniques. Even if it's things like push pull, squash, stretch, that kind of stuff. Those techniques are extremely useful. No, she doesn't have her skateboard. Not anymore. She could print one. But she doesn't have her skateboard at this point. Not anymore. I mean, she had that before, but she doesn't now. And that's actually what I was going to say. If I cut that scene out at this moment, then we still can kind of pull the red herring through this issue. Right? She still looks like the lone survivor of this entire village. Especially when she's walking through the town, the destroyed town, and everything is destroyed. And that does make it look like she's a lone survivor, which works. I like pulling that red herring. All right. And I actually will give more space to that. Hey, Kat, what's the name of those dropped panels where you have one panel that drops on one side to lead to another side? Like you were saying there's a one panel we lower to sort of lead it to the next page. I remember us talking about that. I have all these notes that I took whenever you were doing all of that really great prep stuff about the names of different aspects of the page, and I've forgotten all of them now, and I feel kind of bad because I'm like, I really, really need that stuff. That's such a good bit of information. It's not, I don't need it, but I love the way that was, some of those things really sank in. Oh yeah, Hikigoma. Thank you. I'm going to take then this and move it over here. You are awesome. Okay. So, curiosity, Kat, do you know if hikigoma, if that hiki is to pull? If that's that same hiki? The Is it written with this kanji like that? That was a miserable kanji. Let's try it again. That. There we go. Much better. Yeah, hikigoma. Oh, the other direction. This direction. I knew that. It's been a long time since I've written that one. Yeah, hikigoma. To pull. I was curious. That's one of my favorite kanji because this kanji is bow. And that's like a bow, like a yumi. So when you're doing kyudo, that's the Q in kyudo, right? So that's bow. And to pull the bow is you put a line to indicate the bowstring. So you're pulling the bowstring back, right? So hiki, when we do practice pulls in kyudo, we're doing um, um, we're doing hiki practice, so it's pulling practice. I was just curious. You knew what I meant, even though I put the well, okay. So part of it is in my head, the bow faces like this in my head, and so I always get the line screwed up because this is a weird place to put a bowstring. But if you think about it, the bow would be like this, and that is the bowstring, right? Which makes a lot more sense. And so it's like, well, okay, fine. So I don't know. Anyway, because bows go the other direction. So right. Anyway, there's our little bit of Chinese/Japanese lesson for the day. So yep, you pull the bow. All right. Okay, we got some vignettes of different things people being rescued to indicate that rescue is occurring. right? Okay. Totally an excuse for me to have to build a whole bunch of new mecha. This is gonna be horrible. It's just such a tragedy. Mm. It'd be such a hardship. I get to build more mecha. Including partial mecha. Like, it's gonna be so much fun. All these mecha. So, let's see. Yep. Oh no, plants and stuff. I'm totally gonna have to do work on plants and stuff. That's so sucky. Oh noes. Oh noes. Yep, definitely the guys on Cap are gonna be used again because that's my space fighter. But I'm sure I will use you know, the. We should probably figure out how to make a universal platform for construction mecha. Oh no, I get to take a walk. Oh noes. And maybe that's actually where we come into figuring out what happened in this scene, and that's the connection. Oh, it's gotta have legs. It's gotta have legs. It's mecha. It has to have legs. Otherwise it wouldn't be mecha. Oh, you mean for yeah, for well, yeah, that's what I was thinking is like a platform with four legs, and then we build different things for the top that sit on the top of the platform, like your backhoe and you know things like that. I also think we can use the same type of legs that we just used for the MPV, which has wheels. So it rolls out there, and then the wheels are at the elbows, so then it just stretches the legs out and stands. Then you can have it walk to its location, start doing the work, and then walk away from the location, then get back down on its wheels and drive away. Sort of have the conversion between fast and slow. We just need heavy duty industrial wheels. So the wheels that the industrial mechs have are big and thick and Not quite like they look like for the MPV, but the same design would be fine. I also think like they should have really big feet that fold underneath. So these feet that all just like fold together underneath there so that it can walk with large feet. And we can use that platform later for things that are similar to an AT-AT, where you have like a large cannon mounted on it or something like that, because it'd be the same critter. In fact, now that I've thought about this, I kind of want to design it before I forget it. Like that. So that this way it comes up here and then this just sits like so. And that way it's got large feet because you want it to not sink into the ground. You don't want it to dig in, things like that. The MPV isn't as heavy. So the MPV doesn't need as big of feet to walk around on. And I'm aware and cognizant that isn't as heavy as a relative term, but still isn't as heavy. So yeah, I think that'd be better. Yeah, I like this plan. This is a good one. All right. So we've gotten that far. Then we connect in here. And we think, what do we think? Should be Chang and Senator. Because he's president now. Whatever. He's in charge. Right. Yeah, that works. Because then we have Chang and the senator. The senator's in charge. And that ends to the scene where we now know that there's incoming Commonwealth destroyers. And that's the complication to the story. And there we go. I feel like that's a good rough. And that gives us a lot of what's going on here. And it got tight in the end, which is the way it should be. And the middle's pretty, and the beginning's pretty slow, building up. And then it builds to the, oh no, we have a real problem now. There we go. Nice. Nice. I like this. So that works. Cool. Oh. Ow. We still have 4 minutes to spare. Look at us. Look at us doing good. There we go. I think book 3 doesn't need to change a whole lot. I think book 3 looks pretty solid the way it was. I just didn't like book 2 as much. Let's bring up book 3's layout. Like, looking at issue 3 though, the only thing we now really need to change is this section up here doesn't need to be here anymore, right? Now all we need is this works because now it's still Alex and the cat, but now it looks less weird, right? Because it's now she's been out there on the, it almost looks like now she's hallucinating. You know what I mean? Like she's been out there so long that she's hallucinating. So this works better here. And this becomes a little bit more, this section up here was where originally we had it set up as sort of Chang and Tum talking about, what can we do? There's nothing we can do because no matter which way we look at it, it's going to end up being sort of a rout because we're just a little ship and there's a whole bunch of bad guy ships coming in and we have to survive 5 days before the good guys show up, sort of thing. And how do we defend the planet and yada, yada, yada. And this is where she can come up with the idea to foul the system if she really needs to. It still works. But I can be a little bit lighter about it now. Yeah, I don't think this one needs to change that much. I think this chapter is fine. I mean, it needs to tighten up a little now, but that's it. And other than that, I think we're good. So I don't think I need to change 3 that much. It was really 2 that was bothering me because it felt like there wasn't enough human impact on the fact that Moment was completely thrashed, because Moment was really messed up. The entire planet moved. So there's a lot of people that are not doing well, So it's one of those, it'll take months, if not years, to rebuild this planet. And that was a human factor. You know what I mean? Like it felt like a real human problem that we weren't addressing. Now I feel like 2 is addressing that, and 3 isn't bad. I mean, like we're gonna have to go back in and kind of fix some pieces of 3, but I feel like it not as complicated as it used to be, which is good. So that works for me. Okay, well, it is now 11 o'clock. I am going to go get lunch. It was good to have you here. Thanks for joining me, Brent. Thanks for joining me, Kat. I always appreciate you guys. And I'm glad to have met you, the village idiot, for that moment that we had you here. It was good to have you on the show for just a few moments. I think Can never escaped the blankets, and I worry about him. That's a good point, Brent. And then, of course, Ron was here earlier on, and I appreciate always having Ron here is a good thing. I think that's a good idea. Is some ground monkeys of some sort. Remember, there's only 45 people on the Kitty Wake, so it doesn't take a lot to get down to ground monkeys. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a way to look at it. Anyway, I'll be on tonight after Geek Tank. So until then, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye bye.